Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we're going to talk about a lawsuit. The media seems to be focusing on the involvement of the former Secretary of Homeland Security and James Clapper. They've kind of co-signed this lawsuit. That's not important. Those people are politicians. They were in Obama's administration. The fact that they oppose Trump is not news. What is news is who brought the lawsuit. It wasn't brought by them. It was brought by the union that represents federal asylum officers. Now, to understand why that's important, you have to understand what federal asylum officers do. On a daily basis, they listen to the most horrible stories of human suffering imaginable. They sit there and they listen to it, and then they make a decision. If you're talking to a federal asylum officer, you are in a bad way. However, being in a bad way alone does not necessarily qualify you for asylum. So they listen to these horrible situations that people are in, and then they reach up and they click the button that says deny, and they send them right back to that situation. These are not tender-hearted people. These are not bleeding heart liberals. These are people who on a daily basis make decisions of life and death for people based on criteria. They're bringing the lawsuit over the Remain in Mexico policy. The formal name of that is the Migrant Protection Protocols, and if there has ever been an example of newspeak in the United States, it is that. The Migrant Protection Protocols were brought into existence by Trump. He spoke them into existence. He dictated them, and they became the way we operate. The asylum officers are saying that it is a violation, it's causing widespread violation of international and domestic law. Of course it is. Anybody that has watched this channel for any length of time has seen me go through this. I'm going to go through it again real quick. Article 6, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution says that international treaties are law. The 1967 Protocols for the Treatment of Refugees lay out how we are supposed to treat these people. We are violating international law, U.S. law, and the U.S. Constitution based on the whims of President Trump speaking. They also say that it is fundamentally contrary to the moral fabric of our nation. I would agree. It most certainly is. It most certainly is. There's a State Department report that says asylum seekers are likely to suffer the same persecution they face at home in Mexico. We're killing people. If this policy was not in existence, that little girl and her dad would still be alive today. Okay. The one thing that came out during this that I think is important, I'm going to say it twice to make sure people catch the importance of it. The current system, as it is operating right now, does not allow asylum officers to ask if people fear for their safety in Mexico. However, if it is brought up by the asylum seeker, it can be considered. Asylum officers cannot ask if people fear for their safety in Mexico. However, if it is brought up, it can be considered. If the asylum seeker brings it up, it can be considered. That seems like really important information, and it also shows exactly how messed up this policy is. It's intentionally barring asylum officers from doing their job, which is to determine who's really at risk and who isn't. That's their job, and the president is stopping them from doing it. Because this isn't about protecting migrants. It never was. It's about stopping people and then slowing down the rate at which we process asylum claims so they die. That's what it is. Now, at the end of the day, what's really important here is that we have a man in the Oval Office who dictated law. There's a word for that, dictator, who is in control of concentration camps. That's where we're at in the United States today. He bypassed all constitutional checks to do this. He didn't get congressional authority. He certainly didn't find a way to undermine an international treaty. He just spoke. He dictated law. He's a dictator. We let him get away with it. Now, these federal asylum officers are taking him to task for it. People who are used to making life and death decisions. People who are totally comfortable sending people back to squalor. They're saying that this is immoral. They're saying it is fundamentally contrary to the moral fabric of our nation. It is. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.